Hello, I'm going to create a virtual network and step through the process of building a virtualization environment so that we can run some tests against MAAS. At Ubuntu, we like to use the ISO tracker for our pre-release ISO testing. We've defined several test cases that you can run against any particular build. I'm going to choose the MAAS installer test case with the Trusty daily build. I would recommend having a quick read through this test case just to familiarize yourself with what all it will be asking us to do. But for this video, we'll primarily focus on item 2, which is to create an isolated network. MAAS uses DHCP and DNS with PXE-boot to enlist the nodes, and so naturally you could have a conflict if you were to deploy this on a network with an existing DHCP server. So we'll head over to the Virtual Machine Manager and double-click our localhost. On the Virtual Networks tab, you'll see there's already an existing network, but that has DHCP already enabled. So we'll need to create a new network. You want to specify an IP address that is known to be free and not in use by any connected networks, and definitely disable DHCP. We want to enable forwarding and NAT, the network address translation. That will essentially create a router at the edge of this virtual network. Okay, we can start the process of defining our new virtual machine. I have already downloaded today's Trusty build ISO. If you need to download it, there is a link on the test case. Right here. We'll give this 1.5 GB of RAM and 3 CPU cores. On my box, I'm running a little low on local storage, so I have some attached storage, and so I'll go ahead and create my new QCOW2 image manually. I would recommend at least 20 gigs. I'm choosing 40. Keep in mind it's a QCOW2, so it won't actually take up that amount of space initially. We definitely want to customize before we proceed here. There are a couple of options that we need to override, such as the network membership. We need to place this new NIC into our new MAAS ISO tests network. I also like to manually specify the VirtIO device for both the NIC and the disk. It will probably do that automatically, but now we know for sure. I don't see any reason to virtualize sound hardware on a virtual server such as this, so we remove that hardware. Okay, we'll kick off the installation, which will be a pretty vanilla build. I'm going to use F4 to choose a different mode. We want to do a minimal virtual machine install. That will result in an initial installation size of less than 600 megs, and then we can cherry pick the additional packages that we want to add. Okay, while that's rolling through, I want to go ahead and examine the bridge configuration at the host. Take note that we have Virtual Bridge 1, which was created on the fly by libvirt, and we have one device attached behind that bridge, VNet 0. The VNet 0 device is essentially a virtual Ethernet cable that connects to ETH0 of our virtual machine. We can also see with the IP tables command what's happening behind the scenes, again created on the fly by libvirt via IP tables. So we have our NAT rules and our port exceptions with our stateful packet inspection firewall. Back on the installation, we should expect that DHCP acquisition will fail since there is no DHCP server on that network, and it did. So we'll configure this manually with a static IP address of .200. it is a /24. The gateway is .1 and the name server is also .1. That happens at the host level via DNS mask. Go ahead and keep our naming convention consistent. No domain name. You want to go ahead and add your user of choice. Okay. Again, we're going to keep all of the defaults and let this installation finish. We'll pick back up with verifying network connectivity and installing the MAAS packages.